Hey, how's it going everyone? It's tier list time. We're going to be covering Blitz today. I tried to find a tier list that has just the image of the heroes available on it, but there isn't one that is updated yet. So if you are somebody that likes to make tier lists, it's maybe something you want to put some time into to put on the website, then people like myself will definitely be using it on the channel. So instead I got this list here. It is missing Janice, the new merchant, from what I can see. But Janice hasn't really been doing all that well in general anyways. It's probably a D tier hero. So we're just gonna go with this and see how it goes. So I think for the most part, most of you probably just want to know what are the top heroes here. And I guess I will go over those pretty soon. But what has happened in Blitz? Like before we had a bunch of heroes that were stuck in the A tier. Unfortunately, a lot of them got downshifted to B tier simply because Benji is now pretty much everywhere by the looks of it, and he is really racking up a lot of heroes that previously were doing very well, namely decks like Kugane. Let's just put Benji up in the S tier for now. He loses hard to Warrior and Guardian decks, but it's still such a good deck. Like pretty much anything that has less than 7 block in their equipment is a deck that Benji can potentially just OTK on the very first turn if he manages to draw into a Razor Reflex and a Spring Tidings, which is just absolutely sickening to me. The deck is so consistent pulling off its combo. Like when I go to armor events, I generally win like 75% of my matchups simply by digging to my combo piece and then just going all in with Benji. If you want to see more information, there's an article coming out on the Lotus Lookout soon, so keep an eye for that. I also have an article over on my Patreon where I cover this, and there's a video on my channel. If you want the latest updated list, you probably need to visit my Patreon. Kasai, another hero, got a lot of good things for it now. Like Blade Runner is the most useful thing ever for Kasai, simply because you can give go again to your weapon and at the same time you can give +3 to your next weapon swing. It's just so spicy for Kasai. Like Kasai has become so good now, especially in combination with things like Valiant Dynamo. If you have a Valiant Dynamo lying around in your binder, you should go check the marketplace, because the last week alone I think I sold 5 Valiant Dynamos, or 4 of them or something like that. They are selling like hotcakes, and I'm selling the call for ones, the first edition ones, because Valiant Dynamo is just such a good card in this deck. It gives Kasai such a high life pool simply because of all those 1 blocks that she can use now. Is an S tier hero for sure. Bravo is yet another one that is doing really well currently, and I've been seeing this one top quite a bit of events, and I think these 3 are now currently the S tier heroes that are pulling off 60% plus win rates in most events. If I had to pick like an S tier plus hero among these 3, I would say Kasai is definitely like right here, the top queen. Let's change it actually. Let S tier plus tier, and then this one is gonna be S tier in general, and then A, B, and C is garbage tier anyways, right? Nobody wants to play C tier, so I think it looks something like this. So when it comes to Ira used to be a S tier hero in my opinion. By the way, I'm sorry, there's some noise outside on the street. I'm recording during daytime today, so I don't need to do an all-nighter again, so there might be some noise here and there. But anyways, Ira used to be S tier. Unfortunately, she cannot really keep up with decks like Kasai, so currently she has become A tier. Dash, I'm very sad about this. Dash used to do well, but she can't compete anymore, even with all the new toys. In Blitz, it's just like she is winning like maybe 40% of her games now. It's just not good enough. Chain, I would say, is A tier. Runeplay got a lot of good stuff. Viserai, I'm thinking like Viserai can do some very crazy stuff very early on with the Bloodshed Skeleton. Like sometimes you can even win on turn 2 or so with this deck, so I would say like he would definitely qualify for S tier, but I don't have enough games registered for Viserai yet. And from the games that I did see, I would say like, okay, it's S tier, but it's just a small sample pool right now, so I'm not 100% sure. It's either S tier or A tier. I'll put in an A tier to be on the safe side, so nobody goes out and massively invests in this deck and then it turns out I'm wrong and it's not S tier, but I think Fitzroy is a really underexplored hero. The reason why he's A tier right now is because most Ira players have shifted to playing Benji instead, and he has a very solid matchup against Benji, and he also has a very solid matchup against Kasai, because Kasai cannot really handle all the rune chants and stuff like that. That's why I think he should be in this spot, but I'll put him here for now for the time being. Briar is still a very solid deck. Like, Briar's win rate is impeccable in my opinion, and still a solid S tier hero. Reiner, I'm gonna put in an A tier. Like, I have some friends over in Hong Kong that really like the Reiner deck, especially Eugene. He plays it a lot. Eugene told me among all his games that he plays that he is pretty much pulling off like 55 to 70% win rate, if I remember correctly, with Reiner. I don't have many results for Everfest for Reiner yet, but it might even be an S tier hero because he has a lot of solid matchups, but in Europe, I haven't really seen Reiner perform all that well, so I'll put him over in the A tier for the time being. But I'll do an update soon once I have more data available to me, and then he's also either S or A tier. But Reiner has a lot of very good matchups, I would say. Like, even against decks like Benji, with all the intimidating nonsense going on, he can do some very fun stuff. He can really deny Benji from sculpting his hand if he goes first, which is good. And you can even, like in my case when I face Reiner sometimes, that I get stuck with a Spring Tidings in hand that I don't want to block with anyways. So then Reiner can potentially OTK Benji, and then you need to block with that card, which makes it very, very hard for Benji to win in general. Kano used to be S tier, unfortunately with Kasai and Benji in the format. This one has downshifted to A tier now. Maybe even B tier, simply because there are so many high aggressive decks in the format right now. Azalea not really performing well yet. Very sad to see Azalea's just not doing it in Blitz. I thought maybe with the new cast this one would do better, but it's not really doing it. Lexi is B tier. Like, again, it seems Rangers just don't do well in Blitz. Like, their life pool is so limited that they don't really have much time to set up. Same for things like Prism. Prism is C tier in Blitz at the moment. Icelander I haven't really seen perform yet, so I don't really know where to put Icelander, but if I had to guess, it's probably B tier, simply because it's a control hero in a meta that wants to win early. Like, a deck like this cannot really perform all that well. Kev Dane is in the C tier. KO is doing quite well, surprisingly. Like, KO has some very fun stuff going for it right now. Like, I've seen KO perform rather decently in some setups, so I think he should be A tier right now. Data Doll, even with the microprocessor, is not really winning all that much. Like, this deck is too dependent on having that microprocessor available to them early on, which just doesn't happen. So unfortunately, Data Doll is still stuck in the C tier. Same with Shiana, also a C tier hero. Even though there is something to be said about Shiana using things like Banshee specialization, the Spring Tidings, as well as Ira specialization, the what's it called again? The Whirling Mist Blossom. That's the one to draw cards. Like, those two ninja cards could potentially have something useful for Shiana in it, that she uses a lot of attack reactions to get a bunch of draws and going wide that way. So if somebody wants to explore something spicy, you could probably look into that. That might be something that works. All Team is a very good hero. It would be A tier, but unfortunately, again, it's not so much that the All Team players that are slow, but mostly the people facing it that are slow. So this deck ends up getting a lot of draws in general. So because of that, it ends up in the B tier. Not because the deck is bad, but because the Blitz rounds are so short and All Team has difficulty closing out the games. Dorinthia is, I would say it's S tier now. Like, Dorinthia also got a lot of new cool warrior toys going for it now. So I think Dorinthia is definitely S tier, especially with the new helmet. What's it called again? I forgot the name. The one that lets you get something from the top of your deck. Very useful for the Dorinthia deck. It does mean that she cannot use the Skull Cap in combination with that thing, but she can always keep the Skull Cap in the sideboard if she is up against some really aggressive decks like Benji or something like that. Katsu is a bit more consistent now. I think previously it was a C tier hero, but I think this one has upshifted to B tier simply because we have some very fun combo lines with Break Tide and such. We also have the 100 Wins combo line, which is kind of decent for the Katsu deck in general because you have very easy on-demand 4 attack go against with the red 100 Fist if you combine it with a different, not 100 Fist, that's Final Fantasy 11, 100 Wins, that's the name of the card. You have some very easy 4 damage shenanigans going on, also with Winds of Eternity and stuff like that, so I think Katsu has upshifted a little bit. Maybe if we have a few more bans in the future where those really high aggressive decks get nerfed a little bit, Katsu might even move up a slot. He did get nerfed a bit though, because Find Center, like I mentioned in the video the other day, no longer can give us the Zen State token because the opponent can soon block it with the equipment. Not yet, by the way, those things go effective as of March, so you can still abuse the Find Center ruling for the time being, like making it unblockable by equipment. Valda Bridex, there's a lot of people that really like this hero, but I haven't really seen it perform all that well, to be honest. It's cool with creating the Seismic Surge tokens, but do you really want to give your opponent that many draws in general, right? Like, if they got so many draws, you're kind of on the losing end anyway, so I think Valda is like maybe a B-tier Guardian at best, alongside Ultim and such. Bolton is still a turn 3 combo hero, which can combo off pretty much like 40 or 50% of its games on the second or third turn. Unfortunately though, there is so much aggression in the game right now that even with the new helmet that is helping him a lot, he is just not performing all that well, which puts him down in the B tier. And Levia, I don't have much data about Levia yet, but from what I've seen, Levia has finally moved up a bit. She is a little bit more consistent now, probably stuck in the B tier, and I think something like this is probably the current meta list right now. I think Dorinthia is a little bit less good than these 3 down here, so maybe she would be like, an A 1.5 towards S tier, somewhere in the middle here, but Dorinthia is just good in general. I am personally quite happy that Kano has been downshifted a bit, because Kano has been quite a menace to the Blitz format in general. Same with Ira, even though Ira is my main Blitz deck and my main go-to deck. I feel seeing her push down a bit is good for the die-hard Ira fans, because they can finally have their deck to themselves, kind of, without everybody just playing it for the win rate itself. So this one downshifting a bit is good. That's also good for the just have a bit more variation. Like, yeah, that's the thing I wanted to go for. Like, now we have a bit more variation in Blitz with this one sitting at A tier. All the people jumping to Benji though, like, if you were originally not a ninja player, I think you're just a meta chaser. Like, I play Benji, I'm going to admit, I play Benji at Armory events now, and I have been considering to stop playing him because the deck is just too consistent in general, and it kind of takes the fun away for a lot of opponents. But then what else do you play, right? Like, if I go for Kasai is also very hard for most opponents to deal with, so I'm not sure what to go for. I really like Kasai in general. Like, most of you probably remember, like, all the way when I started covering Flesh and Blood on my channel, I used to play Kasai a bit here and there. I used to talk about it a lot, as in liking it even more than Dorinthia as my go-to warrior build, but I don't know, like, maybe Kasai's a bit too good. I really like fair Flesh and Blood, if that makes sense. Like, I like it when both players have about an equal chance of winning, and it really boils down to the interactions and your playstyle, your skill, your experience and stuff like that. So any deck that really just outshines because it has better cards than the other decks, I'm not really a huge fan of. I feel the Blitz format has become a little bit too explosive to my liking. A couple of months ago, right before the Tales of Aria release, or maybe shortly after, I was still a very big advocate for Blitz as a premium format for competitive play. But lately I feel Blitz has become really an aggrofest, and it has really become the one thing that people kept saying it is, even though previously it was not, if that makes sense. So I do hope that we see a couple of bans in the format just to balance things out a bit, because I think if the top aggro decks are not as oppressive as they are now, then we will probably see stuff like Lexi moving up to the A tier. Then we will see things like Kano pushing back to S tier and stuff like that, and Ira as well. But I don't know, maybe that's just, that would be quite a varied, then it would probably look something like this. Benji would probably become A tier. I think Benji's Springtimes will be banned soon, but I think if it looked something like this, it would be kind of a varied metagame, right? We would have all these cool 8 S tier heroes and then all these cool A tier heroes as well. Then we pretty much have representation for everything. We have some Brute, Runeblade. The only thing that would not be represented is Illusionist and Mechanologist, but I think something like this would be a very nice metagame if we ever reach it, but unfortunately we're not there yet. For now we need to just keep on dealing with it as so. Anyways, that's my Blitz video for today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in my YouTube comments. Anyways, that's all from me for today. Thank you for watching. If you like me doing these tier list and analysis videos, and if you like me in general doing all this testing to figure out what are the best decks in the format, the best way to support me is of course by watching my videos and subscribing. The second best way is to financially support me over on Patreon so that I can put more time into the stuff. I will do a CC tier list video very soon as well. But yeah, that's all for me. Thank you for watching and see you all soon.